In the history of human conflict, the loudest explosions often occur on the front lines, but in 2026, the most devastating blows are felt in the banks, where the brutal war of attrition on the battlefield meets a sophisticated air war designed to make continuing the conflict financially impossible. The theater of war has expanded into a second front, where long-range missiles and drone swarms bombard critical infrastructure nightly to inflict damage that progress on the ground becomes irrelevant. Ukraine has begun zeroing in on the heart of the Russian war machine, targeting military facilities and the military-industrial complex with a precision that has resulted in a successful strike every 3 days. These operations are dubbed kinetic sanctions because they aim to starve the enemy of the revenues needed to fund their defense budget. One of the most consequential strategies involves the hunt for the Shadow Fleet, which is a collection of nearly 1,000 aging tankers and transport millions of barrels of oil. These vessels are the lifeblood of the sanctioned economy, but they are now facing a surge in impacts and underwater explosions that have taken at least 11 tankers out of action in a single year. Replacing just one of these ships costs roughly $50 million, and losing a full cargo of crude oil can set a nation back millions. The impact of these strikes is not just physical but economic, as insurance rates for trading in high-risk zones have increased significantly, making it incredibly dangerous and expensive to export energy. Beyond the sea, the air war is targeting the nervous system of the complex, including plants that produce cruise missiles and microelectronic components used in advanced weaponry. One major operation involved smuggling drones into enemy territory and launching them from specially designed trucks to strike strategic bombers parked in the open. This attack caught the military by surprise and destroyed multiple high-value aircraft before they could even leave the ground. By hitting the specialized factories that produce drones and electronic warfare equipment, a smaller force can paralyze a much larger army by taking out the specific nodes required for modern combat. The direct financial damage to these facilities has already exceeded $1 billion of lost revenue, and indirect impacts has reached over $13 billion. This is the new reality of warfare, where the back line has become the front line, and the most important battle is the one being fought against the economy to ensure they can no longer justify the continuation of the war. As crude oil deliveries to refineries drop to their lowest levels in 15 years, the pressure continues to mount on the war machine, Gemini said.
While the initial surgical strikes were designed to kick the doors in, the arrival of the B-52 fleet represents a shift towards sustained brute force that is breaking the remnants of the military. Iran had already been shattered by stealth bombers and fifth-generation fighter jets, but now it must face the rise of a 74-year-old legend. The B-52 Stratofortress is currently flying with near impunity over Iranian territory, signaling that the regime's air defense network is completely shot. In just the first 72 hours of this conflict, the US and Israel have combined to shatter over 2,000 targets inside the country. These bombers are unloading enormous amounts of firepower on command and control nodes to ensure the military can no longer coordinate a defense. Because of these strikes, the coordination on the part of the regime is falling apart by the minute, as their production facilities are hit and rebuild times become non-existent. The primary focus is now on destroying the nodes that allow the regime to wave the one big stick it has left, which is its stockpile of ballistic missiles. U.S. Central Command has already made steady progress, with theater ballistic missile shots down 86% from the very first day of fighting. Additionally, the one-way attack drones that have been a constant threat are now being shot down at a rate of 73%. This is a total whittling down of the entire military strategy as the U.S. prepares for a campaign that could stretch on for several weeks. By switching from the expensive, stealthy B-2 bombers to the B-52, the U.S. is able to keep costs down while battering the enemy with maximum firepower. A single B-2 costs $2 billion to build and roughly $200,000 per hour to fly, making it too costly for a long loiter time. In contrast, the B-52 costs about $70,000 to fly per hour, which is nearly half of what the newer stealth cousin requires. This genius move allows the administration to continue the campaign with a significantly smaller financial burden on the national defense budget. The skies over the country have become permissive, allowing these non-stealth bombers to operate with total confidence that they will be unopposed. As the scope of the war expands, the U.S. is even targeting military assets stationed far outside of the national territory in international waters. First came the surgical surgery, then came the heavy sledgehammer, and now the regime has been rocked to its very core. Beyond the destruction of military hardware, the arrival of the B-52 fleet marks the beginning of a third phase that could lead to the total collapse of the current regime. The United States is already projecting a multi-week conflict and has the military capability to sustain this pressure far longer than the enemy ever anticipated. By establishing total air superiority, the U.S. has signaled to the world that it no longer fears the copycat air defense systems that were reverse-engineered from Russian and Chinese designs. These untested knockoff systems have been found wanting in combat, as they carry the same electronic vulnerabilities as the original S-300 and HQ-7 networks. Even as air defenses are moved from the east to the west to stop the strikes, it only leaves the rest of the country unguarded and open to standoff munitions. This is no longer a gamble, but a systematic dismantling of an entire military identity that may never recover from this firestorm. The weakening of this
regional power is also a massive blow to global players like Putin, who had gambled on this partnership to strengthen his own geopolitical position. As the regime is rocked to its core, the prospect of ground operations looms as the final step to ensuring this threat is removed forever. The world is watching as the surgical surgery and the heavy sledgehammer make way for a potential new reality on the ground. If you want to stay ahead of these global shifts and understand the machinery of modern power, you need to stay informed with our deep dive reports. Make sure you are subscribed to Military Insider to catch all of our exclusive coverage on Operation Epic Fury as the situation develops. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next Tactical Breakdown.